Good morning and welcome. My name is Courtney Mercer. I'm the Executive Director of Downtown New Jersey. As part of our ongoing Downtown Management Forum series, today we are happy to have Susan Adelizzi-Schmidt, who's President of Suasion Communications Group, also a board member of Downtown New Jersey, who's going to share a lot of great information about marketing, in particular recovery marketing. Before we get started and I pass the baton to Susan, I do like to share a little bit about Downtown New Jersey for anyone who doesn't know us. We are a nonprofit education advocacy organization. We provide lots of educational opportunities like these online forums, a conference, when we are allowed to be in person, quarterly roundtables, lots of information up on the website too. We do advocacy as well. We release a quarterly policy watch. There's also a COVID resource page now that's kind of keeping track of things as they come, real-time advisories, and we do provide testimony for all things that support downtowns. And finally, we do like to recognize our members with awards, member spotlights, and sharing the good things you're doing on social media. We are a membership-based organization, and we are able to provide all these services through the support of our members. So if you're not a member, please do consider joining us. Just as I said, we've been doing these forums since pretty much the beginning of the COVID shutdown. We were doing them almost weekly for a while. We've moved to about every month now. And all of the forums, there's videos, resources, PowerPoints, summaries up on our website. So do check them out if there's any you missed and you want more information. And our next forum, we do already have that scheduled, will be September 18th. That's a Friday. And we've got Michael Byrne, who is going to relay his kind of research and thoughts on what he's toting as the retail New Deal for recovery. And last but not least, we are going virtual this year for our conference. And we had a board meeting last week and set the dates of December 3rd and 4th. Stay tuned for more information on that. So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing my screen so that Susan can share hers and begin her presentation. I can see it, Susan.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Great.
Good. You can hear me then. So it's great to see everyone. And thank you, Courtney, for the invitation to come on board and join another Zoom meeting, right? I'm sure we've all been Zooming like crazy. I know I have. And it's just a wonderful way to see everyone and exchange ideas. And kudos to Downtown New Jersey for not only hosting this today, but you saw the list. It's been a very robust program that Courtney has been overseeing, and we've had a tremendous amount of great speakers and wonderful things happening with Downtown New Jersey. So kudos to you, Courtney, and you know, keep up the good work. I know there's the conference is coming up and some other great activities and events. So definitely keep an eye out because there's some good stuff coming up. So just a little bit about myself and Suasion. Suasion Communications Group has been in business for 13 years. We're a full service marketing agency, and we have offices in Summers Point and Haddonfield. I work with an extraordinary team of people. I have a great team. Some of them I've been working with for over 13 years, and we do everything from full-scale campaigns to different projects, social media, website, branding, advertising, marketing, digital, you name it. One of the clients that we work with, because we work with a lot of towns across the state of New Jersey, but we work with Haddonfield, and we have been for many, many years. As I mentioned, our office is there too. You'll notice in the presentation that I've extrapolated some of the materials that we've created over the last few months during COVID to kind of highlight as far as, you know, how a downtown, this specific downtown has, you know, kind of traversed through the COVID situation and, you know, where they are now. I will say we realize that there are tons of great downtowns that are on this call today, as well as others that are across the state. So I'm going to show you some examples and things from downtown Haddonfield, but we're hoping that after the presentation, I go through my part, that many of you will chime in, and I just want to get you thinking about this now. Any anecdotal stories that you have that you want to share, any great success stories, of course, we're all ears. So just want to get you thinking along those lines. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have several tips that I'm outlining, and I'm just going to kind of go through these. So we always talk about in marketing the 4 Ps, right? We have place, product, price, promotion, and of course now number 5 is pivot. So pivoting is just so incredibly important right now. I think I hear this word as often as I hear the word brand now. I'm sure you're all hearing it as well. So, but it's really important for you to take advantage of this moment in time, to not necessarily just be in a reactionary mode of looking about how your downtown can change through this, through this era, but also how it can kind of bounce forward and take advantage of some of the opportunities as well. So making information readily available to the public, cannot stress this enough. And I'm sure as you all journey out in your own personal lives, Courtney and I were talking a little bit about, kind of how much we have an appetite to go out and do certain things, like, making sure that the information is readily available. I cannot stress this enough. Like, you cannot over communicate right now. If your downtowns are open, the hours that they're open, making sure that all this information is at the fingertips of everyone who needs it. And remember, now people are getting so much of their information through social media. So even though you may say to yourself, oh, well, I just put that on the website, or I just put that, in my newsletter, we don't have to say it again. Yes, you do, right? You just have to keep reiterating your hours, your availability, what you have going on, constantly, and all the other critical information as well. So, taking a moment to look at the overall impact of COVID, and how it has affected your downtown. This is something that's really important to be, it's obviously speaking to your business owners, all of the stakeholders, the customers that come to your downtown, and this is changing. So, where you may have been a month ago, things may have opened up and they've changed. So you have to, it's not the kind of thing where you just pivot once. I mean, I feel like I am just, I'm a voracious reader and listener and observer. And I'm constantly trying to find out, like, what's next, what's going to be like the next situation for my clients, and for the downtown. So, it's being ahead of it and seeing like what's on the horizon, so you can, change up what you've got going on. Having a business resource page, if you don't already have one on your website, is a very handy thing to have. I have that pictured here from Haddonfield. You're welcome to check out the Downtown Haddonfield website to see all these different resources in action. But this is something we started for Haddonfield right out of the gate. So the businesses had the information that they needed in terms of grants and PPP and just any kind of information that could be of interest to them. So again, Courtney and I were chatting a little bit about, how much we've been going out or not lately, and the different appetites that people may have. So I was actually asked to do a Cape May County Chamber of Commerce seminar a few weeks back, and the name of the seminar was Behind the Mask, and providing excellent customer service from behind the mask, because obviously we're trying to communicate with people and deliver services in a whole new way. So one of the parts of this presentation that I gave, and some great information that I came across, was this slide, and I'll go through this with you. I do want to mention this comes from Accenture.com. If you all want to check it out, there's free research that this company is, I don't know if they're going to change it up at some point and not make it free, but right now it's free if you guys want to check it out. That's where this comes from. But they've been doing a lot of surveying, and there's just a ton of great information on this website. And this is, one of the things that they were sharing in one of their PowerPoints, were these different types of people who have emerged, through COVID. So, we have the worrier, and I'm sure you all have come across these different types of people. The seniors, they're avoiding the crowds, they're afraid to go out, they're getting everything delivered, they're afraid to do anything really. So, and seniors obviously comprise a lot of that, but, this can be cross-generational as well. Individualists, they're the ones that are bold, they're not afraid. They want their freedom. They want to be able to get out and do what they want to do. The rationalist, is wearing the mask. They're following the guidelines. I would put myself in this pot. I'm trying to follow everything that I need to, but I also, I'm pretty much out and about every single night or day doing something somewhere. Whether it's eating at a restaurant or walking around a different town. So, but I am complying. So, that's one type of person as well, that is wanting to get out there, but they are following the guidelines. And then you have the activist. So these are the people that, they're shamers, they want to, point out the people that aren't necessarily wearing the masks. They're the ones that are always putting out the facts and all the latest information. They may be trying to change people's behaviors. And then the indifference. They just want normality. They think everything is fine. They think this whole thing is, just a bunch of hogwash, and the whole thing has been blown out of proportion. There are other types as well, which I'm sure you've all come across. One of them that was not in this Accenture model, were, I would call the defiant, right? So the defiants that are out there that just, they won't wear the mask, they won't follow the rules, that type of person. That's obviously another personality type that has emerged through all this. So the reason why I actually put this in this morning, I was going through the presentation and I threw this in from that other presentation I was referencing because, I really feel like it's important for you to kind of identify, who visits your downtown, and, what type of person do you need to try to cater to. You're probably going to have a mix of all these different people, but there's probably a dominant type that is visiting your downtown. So, to try to get an essence of who's coming in and kind of what their needs are, because each one of those types of personalities has a different need. Okay, so assessing your current messaging, you have to look at what needs to be eliminated, what doesn't fit anymore. I mean, you may have put a tremendous amount of work into some of the marketing that you've done in the past. Believe me, it breaks my heart when I have to toss, great work that we've done, but we've had to do it. If it doesn't fit, you just have to make that move. Perhaps there's going to be a time where you're going to be able to bring it back. It's always my hope. Like if we put a whole, I can think of another client that we worked with, a bank. We put all this work into their commercials and they started to run just at the beginning of COVID, and we had to pull them all and change the entire strategy, make that pivot. So right now, all that creative and, honestly, all that money that was spent on those commercials, prior to COVID, it's just sitting there. But we're hoping that we'll be able to reconstitute it at some point. But look at what's in your promotional pipeline, right now, as well as what you have coming up. The fall, obviously the holiday shopping season. What do you need to change up here? And what do you need to curtail? And I'll talk a little bit more about this. All right. So pausing the campaigns when content is inappropriate. If you have large groups of people, I've had many a conversation about this. Oh, well, we wanted, in the beginning, it was like, well, we want it to look like it's normal. And then, it just became really, something that couldn't really be included in our marketing campaigns anymore. We couldn't have those groups of people. We couldn't show those images. So, just looking to see where you need to make those changes. All right. And then, developing a new campaign, right? So, you just got to bite the bullet really and create the new plan. Look at what's happening in your downtown, modify your methods of communication, looking at how much video and digital you have going on versus print. And again, I'll get into a little bit more of this in terms of the campaigns. And I'm showing you little bits and pieces of our Downtown Haddonfield campaign. Initially, when we first started to launch some of the campaigns for Downtown Haddonfield, this is one of the very first graphics that we had initiated. And, we started this whole Open for Business initiative. This was, dating back to, mid-March. I will mention that we are actually penning a story right now for the New Jersey League of Municipalities magazine. And if any of you are looking to tell your story, if you have a great downtown story, I think they are actually accepting stories. So just a great PR tip for you. We're actually drafting one for Haddonfield right now. So you'll be able to see all of these campaigns and everything packed together in a nice, neat story in the October issue. But they are looking for other submissions. So if anybody wants to take advantage of that, there's an opportunity for you. You can just get in touch with the, I think the editor's name is Amy Spezio, and she probably would be more than happy to take your submission. So some other campaigns and other things that we've done in Haddonfield here to pivot through this. So we did the initial We're Open campaign, and then the Welcome Back. And then we got into the shop in store once that opened. So we just kept using the same graphic, right? But then kind of repackaging it all along. And then we took that, we put it on the website. We created a website page, obviously, that was dedicated just to the stores that were open at the time. This was getting into probably like May and June. And then, as Governor Murphy announced, new facets to the opening, we just kept updating and, updating everything we possibly could. So again, omni-channel, looking at your messaging through every single channel that you're communicating for. And also bring up this Haddonfield Here for Good. A lot of the towns across the state of New Jersey have initiated different, just different different initiatives, I guess you could say, to create some awareness, but also to raise money for the different businesses. So this Haddonfield Here for Good was a t-shirt campaign. It's still going on. And a portion of the proceeds are going to help downtown businesses. Every downtown business is getting a piece of that. So another initiative that we did in Haddonfield, and another thing that we wanted to reinforce, as things started to open up, we just kept coming across this in our marketing meetings, about how Haddonfield cares about its customers. And of course, every downtown cares about its customers. I mean, you're trying to make every step, take every measure you possibly can to ensure that they have a safe environment. So we came up, again, just a little spin-off off of our initial marketing there with the Haddonfield We Care. Believe me, this went through so many iterations. We had ears on this heart. We had all kinds of different things on it. And we finally settled on something, I think that is, it resonates, and it just, kind of tells everyone we love you, but we love you better, right, when you have that mask on. And this is something that we have kind of spread out through the downtown. We have initiated this through press releases and have gotten coverage, and I'm going to talk a little bit about PR as well. But one thing you'll see if you go on our social media pages, we've been really trying to stress, showing people, doing their thing, whether they're shopping or doing business or whatever it is, that they have the masks on, and, that they are, kind of following the procedures that they should be. Right. And then creative social media messaging. I know you all get it, right? This is, just a golden opportunity for you to strut your stuff out on social media. Instagram is just, it's so hot right now. It's where we really see all of the growth. Facebook is actually, starting to fade in terms of growth. I'm seeing with a lot of not only our towns, but our clients in general, where, and you see tremendous growth on Instagram. So, just trying to come up with different concepts and different packaging, if you will, to make the initiatives attractive, whether it's Takeout Tuesday or, whatever it may be, just to, try to make it as attractive as possible. And here's just some other examples of social media. I think imagery is just so very important. And I think that, if you have the opportunity to consistently freshen up your images and your videos, very, very important. And utilize your Facebook cover video. A lot of you don't use that. And that's just such a great tool. That's that, that space up at the top of your Facebook page. There's a video capability to that as well. That's a great way to promote your events and just make your Facebook page a little bit more attractive. So then I'll get into public relations. We have been really blessed with a tremendous amount of coverage for this downtown. We are constantly putting out fresh press releases. I mean, we put out a press release every single time Governor Murphy made a new announcement. Every single time there was a press release and pitching. So for those of you that are PR pros, it's all about the pitch. And, I think serving up not only on social media, but from a PR perspective, consistently serving up new messaging and also, identify who your town, spokespeople are, or unofficial spokespeople, if you will. So I know that I've got probably 10 or 15 people in Haddonfield that are my go-tos. If I get an interview request, I know, I have that person, I text them, I already have their cell phone number, like I already have all these people identified. So the minute that a request should come on, a PR request should come in, if they need an interview right away, I'm able to get that furnished for them. So, and I will say too, for Haddonfield, lucky for this town, it has really, it has done very well through all of this. Business is booming in this town, believe it or not. It wasn't, from day one, they went through through that hard spot through, March and April. But, I spent a lot of time in this downtown walking around. Obviously, I'm the one taking all the pictures all the time. So I see people and I'm engaging with them. Right now, they're at about a 98% occupancy rate, close to probably will be at 100. They are seeing a tremendous amount of new businesses come into town, and they are also seeing a tremendous amount of expansion, which is really exciting. One of the markets here that the girl with the black mask on, Mariarchy Market, they're actually expanding. There are several other businesses, long-term businesses, they're expanding as well. So, we just came up with this headline, business is booming in Haddonfield. We put out a press release. We got probably 3 or 4 new TV news coverage. 3 or 4 stations came out, just because it was, it's all about timing. Get those good messages out about things that are happening in your downtown that are good. The media is looking for positive stories, to be able to tell about the whole COVID era. Right. So looking again, just, from a marketing perspective, looking at your print messaging. Do you need to have print messaging? This goes back to understanding who your targets are. We have scaled back on our print tremendously, just because people are obviously on their phones constantly. Digital video, social ads are getting most attention. And Google AdWords, a tremendous help. Facebook ads, Instagram ads, anything that you can be doing digitally, I would highly recommend. There are some exceptions to these rules. There are some local print publications that, they do a tremendous job. I know locally we have like the Gazettes and the Sentinel Ledger, and, these are home delivered, they're free, they go right to the doors of people. So there are some exceptions to these print recommendations that I'm saying, but you have to look at your town and see what works best for you. So something that I always love to do is look at what other people are doing and see what is working. One brand that I love is the Betsy. The Betsy.com is, it's a hotel in Miami. I've never been there, but I love what they do, if anyone's familiar. So one of the things that they've been doing, which is so cool, is they actually have different architects and designers talking about Art Deco and just, some of the different components of Miami Beach and Miami in general. So they put out these Zoom seminars. They're fascinating. I'm just a geek because I love, just gobbling up all this information, but I don't know when I'm going to Miami next, but I'm definitely, in love with just listening to all of these different seminars. So if you have the opportunity to showcase, some of the people in your town through a seminar, it doesn't always have to be about selling something, right? It can be about telling and just, showing off some of the different components, and expertise that some of the people in your town may have. It's a really nice feature if you're going to do it, especially if you have professionals or people that have, art, an art component to their business or something like that. Okay, and then sending out email messages. I'm a huge fan of emails. I just feel like they're kind of the unsung hero a lot of times now. People say, oh, it's spam, this and that. It works. I just find that whenever we send out an email blast, we always get business. Our clients are always getting business from it. Make sure that your subject line is rock solid. That's all I can say. If you don't have a great subject line, they're never going to open it. MailChimp is, really become one of the favorites. There are many others, Constant Contact. I could go down the list, but there are many ways that you can be utilizing email blasts regularly to be able to communicate what's going on in your downtown, and also to do feature stories, similar to what I was talking about with the Zooms, but also to do feature stories on different businesses or different professionals that are in your town as well. Checking in on your stakeholders, it's kind of a common sense thing, but things just keep changing, as we know. Whatever you talked about 2 weeks ago is probably not even relevant anymore. So it's important. I feel like, as managers or marketers of downtowns, is visibility, of course. People need to be able to see you. They need to be able to engage with you. So, and knowing that, you're there, even if you're there just as like a therapist at times, because I think we all need that around this, based on what we're going through. I see a lot of people laughing. I know that when I'm talking on the phone with my clients, like if I'm on the phone with them for a half an hour, 20 minutes of it is probably them lamenting. And then it's 10 minutes of an actual conversation having to do with marketing. So we all kind of need to be there for each other. But that's a very important component as well. And direct mail right now, if you have the means to do it, I know it's more expensive and a lot of times it gets, poo-pooed because of that. But you know what, how many pieces are you getting in the mail these days? Probably very few. So if you are going to do a direct mail piece, you can look at that as an option to be able to cut through the clutter. Right. And then, just really just the celebration of people enjoying the downtown, whether it's through personal services, whether it's through other means, shopping, eating, whatever the situation may be. I just feel like it's really important. Again, I can't emphasize enough to, have those active visuals going and making them pop. So people see, people want the comfort level. They want to be able to see other people doing stuff, right? And know that it's okay. And like, it's okay if I go to that downtown. It's okay. They're practicing social distancing. They're wearing masks. Like I'm going to be safe, and I'm going to be able to kind of fit into to this environment. So, and I'll mention we actually just did a pivot for Haddonfield's sidewalk sale last week. These are some images that I took in and around town last week. So they had a sidewalk sale that they've hosted for years and years and years. And there was very much conversation about, do we want people on the street? Is there going to be enough room for distancing? I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings and how much conversation went into this. And finally, we decided to, the bottom line was, they wanted to put a few racks out on the street, onto the sidewalks, but nowhere near the level that they used to, because they wanted to make sure that it was safe and it was, everything was good. And then we ended up renaming this particular event from the sidewalk sale to the super summer sale. And it turned out it rained a couple of days anyway, so most of the people ended up inside. But it was really the first event that we hosted in the downtown, because this is a very event-driven downtown. So it was the first time we've really had a big public event. And I have to say, Sales were fantastic. People obliged. It was, I think it was just really, they were really fortunate that, everything just went very, very smoothly. So that's it. That's my presentation. I wanted to get through it pretty quickly because I know we have a lot of great people on this call. And I, mentioned to Courtney, I just wanted to kind of go through the presentation quickly, give you again the model that that we've been working with on the front line in terms of downtown Haddonfield. But I really would love to open this up not only for questions or comments, but for your stories and for your experiences across the state. So with that, Courtney.
Great. Thank you, Susan. That was wonderful. And yeah, so for those of you, a lot of you are frequent flyers on these, so you know how they work. But for those of you who are new, this really is a dialogue and a conversation. So certainly if you have questions, ask questions, but also if you have ideas or somebody has a question, you have an answer and chime in. We're very open. You can just unmute yourself and chime in. And I do want to say that on the social media part though, so I'll jump off. I actually, as downtown New Jersey, I've been trying on the weekends to share posts. Normally during the week, it's all kind of topical stuff, but on the weekends, highlight a downtown that's doing something cool. And I'll tell you guys, I have a hard time. It seems to be the same 4 or 5 organizations that I'm sharing things from, and I feel like I'm favoring them, but that's because they're consistently doing new content and new social media posts, and I'd share the rest of you if I saw them coming up. So I think that really is something key, is to be frequent and tell people what's going on downtown. So that's a kickoff. Yeah.
If I could just dovetail off of that, and I'm so glad you brought that up. We are really aggressive about getting the word out, not only for that one downtown, but for all of our clients through other channels. So I think that's a really important point that that Courtney is stressing here. So, if you have an event going on in your downtown, or you have some new initiative, whether it's Takeout Thursdays or whatever it is, and you're sharing it with Courtney, like tee it all up for her. Right? Like write the posts as if they're going to appear on the downtown site. And not only do this with Courtney, but do it with all of your constituents that you have the opportunity to do that with. So that's where we spend a lot of time, is just kind of queuing all that information up. We supply the posts for every platform, right? So you want to write it a little bit differently for Instagram than you did for Facebook. But we roll out all of that text, all of those posts along with images. We email it to the Courtney of the organization, and then we just kindly ask, will you please put this out on your social media? And now you've got your information out among tens of thousands of other people that are just seeing this really probably for the first time and getting acquainted with your downtown and getting acquainted with your brand.
Great. So chime in, unmute yourself, ask a question, share a story.
Hey, this is Emily Manns. I'm off camera today, but I really enjoyed this. And Susan, everything that you said, I was like applauding. But the one thing I just want to kind of emphasize is I really like how you said about kind of showing people further apart. I do downtown events as well, but just as a consumer, I'm kind of in the cautious area. And I think seeing images of people, tables spread out, people wearing masks, it is really important when I'm making my shopping decisions and where I'm going to go and what stores I'm going to go into. And so I think that was so important to mention, like, it's not normal. It's not business as usual. Things are different, and you want to see pictures of that.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much. There's, we're looking for comfort and safety, and even the person, and I gave you all those different types, even the individualist, even the person, that may be a Gen Z and maybe they're fearless, they have that little bit of kernel of fear. Believe me, I live with 2 Gen Zs, and, they're out and about, but they have the kernel of fear. So, making sure that people, the optics are so important here. And, if you're able to convey that through your marketing and make sure that people have that, that reassurance that they're going to be safe, that, people are not going to try to hurt them or come near them. I know it sounds funny, but everyone wants that little bit of reassurance, and the optics are really, really important.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I agree. I said, personally, my own, I know, Susan and I were talking about it a little bit. I said, you're way more cautious than me, and you're a millennial, and I'm a Z. But what I think it's nice when I do see the pictures and I see what different, because there are some places I won't go because I'm like, oh wait, that's way too crowded. Those tables don't look 6 feet apart, and I'm not going to go there. And so when I see ahead of time what people are doing, I will kind of make my choice on where I feel safe to go based on that. And I also thought, Emily, you were going to bring up some of telling the personal stories too, because Emily was on our last forum, if you didn't watch that one, about reinventing events. And they did the
Virtual Restaurant Week.
Yes, Restaurant Week. That's it. I was blocking the Restaurant Week. And they were doing very simple, using a cell phone, taking video of the restaurant owners and bringing their story home so that the people in the town feel connected to the restaurant owners. Where'd you get your start? Who are you? What type of food? And how, all that, just very simple, done with a cell phone and put out on social media. And now you've garnered some more attention for that particular, it doesn't have to be a restaurant, it could be a store, etc. And I know Emily's been doing a lot of that. So
exactly. And we found that some people that hadn't wanted to engage in the past, I think, saw the value in digital more than they had before, and saw the value of engaging with the bid, and really got out there and got on camera, and sold and sold because they needed to at this point.
Laura, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to add something? Great, go ahead.
Yes. I'm Laura. I'm from Frenchtown, the Frenchtown Business and Professional Association, and I attended some of these workshops early on in the days of COVID, and then I quickly got burnt out, and I was doing my own, business pivot. So Frenchtown, we're a town along the Delaware River, and it's a beautiful town, historic downtown, and we've been really hesitant to continue marketing and to get more attention, because we were one of those areas that became overrun with people from all over the state, including New York and Pennsylvania, that were that didn't have anywhere to go. So people were coming here for the river. So our entire downtown just got overwhelmed with all of the people that were coming here to hang out for the entire day, the entire weekend on a tube in the river with their grill and their entire family. But all these people, they were not shopping. They were not going through our downtown. They weren't going to our restaurants. There's just been this hesitation and fear to even attract more. So I see that that's going to change now because with the weather, but I was just curious if anyone else has experienced that or how to navigate that.
I think we have maybe Kristen, because you're down in Point Pleasant Beach, which we know is a very, very prairie town. She and I were actually talking earlier today too. I don't know if you want to chime in about how people are being the shore towns, or if anybody else has thoughts. Not to put you on the spot, Kristen, but we were just talking about it.
No, that's okay. Let me just close the door.
And we don't have the infrastructure to support this. I feel like the shore towns, they're used to this, and we are not. We're not at all.
Yeah, Laura, we're sort of, we are used to it to a point. So ordinarily, in non-pandemic years, we typically will hire, I believe, an additional 60 to 70 seasonal law enforcement officers to help with enforcement on the boardwalk, on the beaches, throughout town, whatever needs to be done. This year, obviously the pandemic sort of derailed some of our plans. And so we have quite a few less than what we normally do. So really the infrastructure, there is some space, there is some walking. Obviously, we don't have the historic streets that Frenchtown does. We're a bit wider sidewalks and things. So, we're handling it the best we can. Yeah, it's not easy. I don't know that we're doing anything, phenomenally different from other years. I think it's just you take it day by day and handle issues as they arise. So, I know that some businesses down at the boardwalk have their own what they call social distancing ambassadors that remind people, kind of keep your distance, wear your masks, wash hands, that sort of thing. So a lot of, I think, of it is falling onto the business owners' shoulders as well as enforcement. So, I know with the influx of extra people, especially this summer, given that people aren't really going too much further away, we have gone and purchased an additional, I want to say it's about 50 or 60 combination recycling and trash bins that have been stationed around town to try to combat some of the litter that's been produced by extra people. So it's just, it's sort of figuring out where the problems are and adapting as quickly as possible. And I think that that's probably the best that we can do here on our end. I don't know how it is for anyone else really, but that's sort of where we are for right now.
We don't have our the Lambertville, the woman from Lambertville. She's been on a few of the webinars too, and I know and I don't know ultimately what they thought about doing, because Lambertville very similar, a little bigger but similar, narrow sidewalks, et cetera, to Frenchtown. And I know they were talking about doing one-way sidewalks as one way to combat it, and then also thinking about kind of taking some parking, which I know is Lambertville and Frenchtown is maybe a non-starter, but so that people can be wider than those sidewalks. But
hello, Lambertville here.
Oh, you are here. Hi.
I'm not your usual Lambertville person, actually. So I'm with the Delaware Rivertown's Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
And we started, I don't know if they talked about before how the city put out stanchions in the sidewalk, actually into the parking spaces on Bridge Street to extend the sidewalks. And that gave the feeling that the town is closed. So we've been combating that. We will be making North Union one way for 2 blocks to allow the stores and restaurants to come onto the streets. We don't have a target date yet because we want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row, because we're thinking about putting musicians out there and maybe some plein air artists. So we have several things we want to put out there to make it look like, hey, I want to walk down that street because there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a festival, but there's something going on.
Hi.
But I have noticed that more people are in New Hope than New Jersey, than Lambertville. And I think that's because Pennsylvania opened first and now allow indoor dining. So that's been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I've heard that on some of the calls, the regional calls, statewide calls that I'm on, is that why is New Hope so busy and Lambertville's not? It just goes to show something.
Right.
Roseanne,
it's like, how do we fight that?
Yeah. Roseanne, did you have something to add?
Hi,
and then I know Olin has a question too. When we get to it.
I'm up in Bergen County in a little town called Westwood. And the organization I'm with is called Celebrate Westwood. And we started out as a 125th anniversary celebration committee, and now we're transitioning into our own 501c3 to become an assistant essentially to the Central Business District Chamber of Commerce. And so what we have been focusing on is placemaking to help combat the people gathering in large areas, making many small areas across the town where people can take out or sit in a park or listen to some live music. And I feel like that's really helped spread people out and keep them moving and bringing people through the downtown in order to promote shopping and dining and just really exploring. So that could be a useful technique to kind of get people off of the waterway, but safely gathering downtown and utilizing the businesses that are struggling. We have seen a number of our businesses close during this time, but we've also seen a number of businesses opening as well. So there has been a flux, and we're trying to just keep everybody really positive about moving forward. We have gotten a little bit of pushback. I also work for the recreation department, and we've been able to do movies in the park socially distanced with masks, but we've been asking people to pre-register, which is something we've never done before, and try and keep it really local to Westwood. If you don't know Bergen County, it's a lot of little towns that are kind of like interconnected. And so we in the Pascack Valley area, we do weave in and out of each other's communities rather seamlessly. But this is one of the times we're really trying to just like focus on our own residents and supporting who we know has been here for 50, 60, 100 years, to really make sure that our history survives as we, come through this new wave of changes.
Nice. Thank you, Roseanne. Olin had texted me that he has a question, and I see Carol and Pamela also.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Courtney. I'm from Bloomfield Center Alliance, and my question is this. As it relates to social media and messaging, I was interested in Susan's presentation when it addressed that. Things that I've heard, and I guess this question is more in a broad context, not only in terms of how we're reacting to COVID-19, but I've heard, from some people that our Facebook page needs to communicate a brand. What is Bloomfield Center's brand, and how do we use social media or Facebook and Instagram to communicate that brand? And I guess my question to Susan is how do we develop that? What do people mean when they say that? What is the brand of your organization, and how to communicate that effectively through Facebook and Instagram? And with Haddonfield, which I saw some of the images and things that you've done over there. What would you say is the brand of downtown Haddonfield, and how you are communicating that through your social media messaging?
Thanks, Olin. It's good to see you. So, well, you asked a lot of questions, so I'll try to answer them all. I'll start off with your question about your brand. So, and I'd be happy to talk to you offline about this too. But you obviously want to do some discovery, in looking at the different components that that make up, that comprise what your brand is all about. So what is a brand? A brand is a promise. A brand is an experience. It's not a logo. I'm a professor at Stockton, and I teach marketing to students. And, that's one of the first questions I ask on the very first day is, what is a brand? And, inevitably they always say a logo. And I'm always like, no, it's not a logo. It's, it's all about, it's every little micro moment that people, have that transpires when they're in your place and, or doing business with you. And, it's kind of like, what do you think of when you say that name, right? And this goes true for people too. Like, do you think that person's a nut? Do you think that person's funny? Do you, whatever it is, that's the brand, right? And it can change a lot, over time. And New York City is a tremendous example of that. I mean, I remember New York City, pre-COVID, obviously, but going back a few decades, we were afraid to go there. It was a completely different time. And, they changed all of that through many different, means. And, again, I'm talking pre-COVID because New York's not having the best time right now. But then it became, something totally different, and it became the in place to be. So, it changes, Olin. And, what I would recommend if you're looking to do a branding process, then is to get into some discovery. And I can, again, offline, I can go through some of the questions to ask your stakeholders. You got to get your stakeholders involved in this process. I would never recommend, even as a marketer and a marketing agency who has done this many, many, many times, You always, if you want to have somebody, like an agency involved, great, but you want to have your stakeholders involved, right? Because they have to have ownership and they have to be in the canoe with you, right? Because if you come up, if the marketing agency or you, Owen, come up with a brand, right, where you think what it should be, and you tell them, I think this is a good idea, like they don't have ownership of it, they're probably never going to embrace it. So so you want to you want to look at your history, your assets, your brand essence. What do people equate when they come to your place, right? So these are all different kind of aspects in the brand discovery process. And then once you get all that stuff down, which I would highly recommend doing, with a series of meetings with those stakeholders, and germinating ideas and whatnot, because everybody's got a different perspective. You're going to talk to, maybe the older business person that's been there for decades. They're going to have a completely different essence of the brand than, say the Gen Z who just moved into town. So there's just a lot to extrapolate from all those stakeholders and then kind of boil it down and distill it and get it on paper. And then from that, then you can come up with some imagery that matches what is the essence of your brand. And that, then would become potentially your logo and, some of the other assets that you would put together. And it's a process. Sometimes that process could be a few weeks. Sometimes it could be several months. I've been involved with some branding initiatives that have taken a couple of years. If there's a change of leadership in the process, that can make the process that much longer. So it really depends on, how quickly people are looking to get the job done and so forth. But again, I'd be happy to talk to you offline about that process. As far as Haddonfield goes, I think, one thing that has always been true to this town is that it is trying to position itself as the premier downtown in the Delaware Valley. So that's something that we've always stressed. And that it is truly like a one-of-a-kind destination. So when you go into the shops and you walk through the town, it's like no other place. And I think it truly does. I remember being involved with some of the branding for that town discussions from 10 years ago about, kind of where they wanted to take it and where it is now. And, I feel like it has been true to itself. And that's a very important point. You have to be true to yourself. So you can't pretend to be, something in your brand that you're not delivering, because the brand is it's all about the promise. So whatever you're promising out there, you have to be able to deliver once people come into town. So hopefully that helped a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I will reinforce the part about needing to include stakeholders. I think Jersey City is an example. They had this JC Make It Yours campaign that they, just came from some PR firm out of nowhere. They didn't actually, talk to anybody. It basically became a way to mock Jersey City and use the hashtag Make It Yours for showing garbage on the sidewalk and et cetera. And needless to say, they don't use it anymore. So there was a lot of money spent on that branding exercise that kind of flopped and backfired on them a little bit. So Pamela, you had a question, then Carol, you're next.
Well, I actually wanted to answer a few questions.
Oh, okay.
I'm a council person in Ridgewood, and we have so many residents who are willing to volunteer their expertise that we were able to put together in the beginning of COVID a Feed the Front Lines campaign, which helped our restaurants stay alive by getting donations from individuals and having those meals that the restaurants prepared delivered to the hospital workers. And so that was great. But after $100,000 raised, we were further into recovery and people could feel a little more comfortable about going downtown. And we were able to get together a meeting of the stakeholders, retailers, restaurants, the council, and residents. And we now have a very active pedestrian mall on Saturdays and Sundays. We do have one-way sidewalks. I wouldn't say it's worked. We painted arrows on the sidewalks, and people said, well, that looks cheesy. And people weren't really willing to walk on the other side of the street to get, and then cross again to get to the restaurant they wanted to go to. But it started out with just a few restaurants willing to put out tables. But as other restaurants saw it, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And here we are in week 7. And if you look at our social media campaign, you will see photographs that look like it's a piazza in Italy. It is so successful. And it's not only on Facebook and Instagram, it's also on Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok. So they've covered everything. It's an enormous effort. Plus we have a whole music series in the park and musicians on every corner. And we work with the chamber and the guild. And it's an enormous effort. I don't know how sustainable this really is. Come the cold weather, we could be in deep trouble. So we will morph it again. But you'll see on that on the social media campaign, we used spring colors, upbeat feel. We do videos of each owner of a shop walking out their door and saying hello. So every business is spotlighted each at a time. The problem we're coming up against is this pedestrian mall is death to the retailers. It's just terrible for the shoemaker, for the dry cleaners, because we closed off the streets and their customers can't get close enough to pick up what they want. And so we're grappling with that. We have to do more for the retailers. The restaurants, they have it for the moment. Come October 1st, things are going to change for them too. But so that's what I would say. Oh, and about those barriers, which are so ugly when you close off a street. We've used as many nice water barriers as we have, or the metal yellow ones. But when we ran out, we had to use dumpsters. Dumpsters at the end of a street make it look like a war zone. They are hideous. So we put big signs on them saying, this way to the parking lot. It's like lipstick on a pig. I mean, it's just, it's a problem. So we meet twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to deal with every instance of every issue that comes up. And then there's also the problem of enforcement, because each restaurant has to have a floor plan of where their tables are. If they exceed that floor plan, they're getting a summons. So then they're up in arms, and it's a constant give and take. So it's a lot of work.
Thank you, Pam. And stay tuned on the staying outdoor in the winter thing. We're working on a seminar on that as well. So, Carol. Yeah, hold on, you're mute. Hold on, let me unmute you. You unmute you. Nope, you're still muted. There you go.
Okay. Hi, I'm from Englewood, New Jersey, which is a town in Bergen County, which is more of a regional town. You know, we take in Englewood and we take in Fort Lee and a bunch of towns. The problem that we faced with the pandemic is because Ridgewood can close the streets, Westwood and other towns can. We have 2 county highways, and we also have a major thoroughfare, so that it wasn't possible to do parklets and it wasn't possible to close the streets. And so the city of Englewood and the chamber worked with all the restaurants. And I think the really positive thing, and I want to share this with everyone, is that we established an outdoor garden, which was in a parking lot behind our major thoroughfare, and we have 4 restaurants there. And then we have a lot of restaurants that are small. And so they can have like 4 tables in front of their store. And so what was really nice is a lot of the merchants next door to them allowed them to put tables next to them, so that some of them have a lot of tables. And there are 50 seats where Bergen Pack and Biddy's and El Tango are. So that's something we've done that's kind of different, because we do face problems with closing the streets. And then what we did is, we're working, because we do a big sidewalk sale. Like Ridgewood, our sidewalk sale is 40 years old and everybody's looking forward to it. And we can't do it. We can't, close off the parking. So what we've done is we're doing what somebody else here was doing. I think you mentioned it, Susan. We're doing the summer sales, super summer sales. It's going to be for more than 3 days. The tables, because the stores are legally allowed to have a table or a rack. So we're starting that next week and we're going to keep it going through Labor Day. So those are the things, because Englewood's just kind of tough because we can't close the streets.
Thanks, Carol.
And our businesses and our restaurants are on all those streets, so that we don't have a problem, because the stores can be open when the restaurants are there, so long as it's not Sunday.
Thanks, Carol. Anyone else? Particularly marketing stuff? We've got Susan, she's an expert here. Questions or ideas or? Hi, Pam.
Hi. So we've been pretty lucky. We've been able to, I'm from New Brunswick, so we've been able to close George Street, which was our main roadway in the downtown where a good portion of our restaurants reside, along with some side streets that are utilizing parklets. So we're promoting New Brunswick, basically initially takeout, curbside parking, curbside pickup. We worked with the parking authority to allow 15-minute grace period at all of the on-street metered parking. We've also worked with the parking authority to allow 30-minute parking for 5 spaces in one of our main garages, so people can come in, not have to worry about trying to find parking, specifically when the roads are closed, to park, go grab their takeout or the third-party entities that are coming to pick up. And if they're there under 30 minutes, they leave the parking deck for free. We've been promoting, takeout, curbside pickup, live music. We have live music scheduled Thursday through Sunday. We close those roads Thursday through Sunday on a daily basis. And we have sidewalk cafe 7 days a week for many of the establishments. We're now looking at creating a promotion, if you will, calling it Relaunch New Brunswick. And we just finished a commercial that we're going to start promoting today, just about being safe, convenient, clean, and fun. And we're looking at hiring higher level performances, but we don't want to get into marketing it as an event, because then, right now our main road is only closed at the intersections. So the side streets remain open. So it's block to block to block that are only closed at the intersection. So you're free from the sidewalk to walk in and out. I think once you start to say that you want to have an event, you would then have to close the entire individual blocks off and just have an entryway and an exit, and then manage that based upon the number of attendees that are allowed at an outdoor event. So I'm questioning, so we're looking at bringing in like the B Street Band and like Jimmy and the Parrots that does like Margaritaville, like Jimmy Buffett kind of music, and also bringing in like a roaming caricaturist. We're going to have art murals and on the street painting by one of our local art galleries. kind of just keeping a connection between the arts in New Brunswick, which is thriving, but barely. I guess my question is, you know, we want to promote it, but we don't want to promote it as an event. So we're kind of at a loss as to how do you market something to try to bring more people in. We're looking to do this the last weekend of August, the last weekend of September, and the last weekend of October. Kind of keeping it, you know, where, you know, we're doing okay, but there still needs to be more, a little bit more visitors for all of the restaurants that we have. We have over 52 of them just in the downtown. So, you know, we don't want to promote it and have 2,000 people, because we would normally have like an Oktoberfest or a Summerfest. We're trying to think of a creative way to promote it, but not promote it to draw enough people that's going to bring attention to us either.
Right.
I don't want to be on the news and then we get shut down.
So Pamela, I mean, I'll take a stab at trying to give you just some initial thoughts at least. I don't know why the word kaleidoscope keeps coming into my head, but sometimes I just like, when someone's talking and they're explaining something and like a word comes up, I've learned over the years to just say it. And if it works, it does. If not, then maybe it spurs some other thoughts to something else. But I do think branding this is important. I don't know how you want to package this up. Maybe you don't want to do a press release for this particular event. But I do think that coming up with some way to package it, you know, whether it's with that word kaleidoscope or something, but it's like a mishmash of a lot of different things. But, you know, New Brunswick is known for the arts. It's known for, you know, as a vibrant place to visit. And I love what you're, you know, like as you're talking about all these different things, I'm like, I gotta go there. I gotta go there. So, so I think you're onto something really cool. And, you know, whether it's going to be like a pop-up art kind of feel to it, which is kind of what it feels like. But I do feel like kind of packaging it makes sense. You know, put the dates out there. If you have the types of artists that you're going to be able to, you know, put out there as well. Maybe you do a little bit at a time, just kind of see how this goes initially. And like, that's how we were when we did the Super Summer Sale. Like, we're like, okay, before we start rushing into all these other events for the fall, let's just see if we can handle this one. And let's see if the people cooperate and how it goes and all of that. So, you know, maybe for this one that's coming up at the end of August, you give it a whirl, you know, go out there, you know, promote it. Let's see how it goes for the town. Let's see if there are any hiccups or anything that needs to be changed. And then maybe you put out the whole, you know, fall pop-up series or whatever you end up calling it. But I do feel like you need to get the word out that this is happening, because I mean, otherwise people are going to miss out. And also, you know, one thing that I'm sure you guys are all aware of this, but like all of those artists have followings, right? And people are dying. Like there's this one guitarist that I just absolutely like. I'm like in love with this guy. It's platonic, but like I've tried to follow him wherever I can. And like I've constantly looking him up to see like, where's he going to play next? So maybe my schedule will allow me to see him, right? So, you know, I feel like if you put something together and you, just like I was saying before about pre-packaging stuff, and you give it to the artists that you're using so they can put it out to their, you know, their spheres, their digital families, you know, that's what's going to draw a lot of people into town as well, because we are dying to see the entertainers and the artists that we have not been able to, you know, to enjoy. I mean, I know I am. So I can't imagine anybody else would be different. So I feel like that's a great channel for you, because you have a lineup of different artists and they all probably have different followings. So, you know, that will, you know, generate a lot of interest as well.
Pam, I also just put in the chat box what the HD Sit in Jersey City is doing. So they're doing it live, but they're not actually doing it down on the street. It looks like they're doing it at the roof of a brewery, and then they're promoting it as so limited seating can attend and then at home to try to get people. So I don't know. It doesn't sound like that's exactly what you would want to do, but they're really playing up the you can see it live, but you can also see it at home.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you might want to talk to Rachel. That's the first one they've done, I think, and I don't know if they're going to expand it and do something different. You know, that was August. I don't know what they have planned for September. Screw Run Grove is normally, I think, actually weekly, and they haven't re-upped it weekly so far.
Yeah, we have some cultural arts that are doing performances virtually. We're going to have the Central Jersey Jazz Festival, basically virtual, but we're also going to have that weekend in September, all jazz at all of our locations. Right now, we schedule music Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have 5 musicians each night. So, you know, one at each corner, or each business location. So we do ask the performers to help promote as well, but you know, my concern with going to the next level of performances, how might that impact us? So I was actually thinking about maybe just throwing out, like you said, Susan, I was like, maybe we do some teasers first instead of like this whole blowout weekend.
Yeah.
Just do small teasers of what's happening over the weekend as part of, you know, relaunching New Brunswick. So,
Nicole, you had something to add or ask?
Hello, everybody. I joined late, but my name's Nikki McAuliffe, and I work at downtown Westfield. And I had a recent experience that I wanted to share that reminded me a little bit of, I guess, your concerns, Pamela. I did a foodie stroll in downtown Westfield about 2 or 3 weeks ago on the weekend. And it was a promotion of small plate and drink specials that were happening at each restaurant. And two things that I wanted to mention is, you know, like the response was overwhelming, and it overwhelmed our restaurants because people are so looking for something fun to do. And it was, from a marketer's perspective, it was fantastic, and it was not great from the all the customer experience perspective. You know, I would have liked the restaurants to have been more prepared, but we didn't know that we were going to get such a huge response. And so what happened was the businesses ran out of food and there were lines. So in the future, we're rethinking how we can do it again, but have a better customer experience. But when you were mentioning your event, your series of events that sound really fantastic, I was thinking, you know, you could drive them to each individual restaurant, since that's the ultimate goal, I think I heard you say, is to try and generate business for those restaurants and get people, you know, ringing the cash register for food and beverage sales. And so you could tie it back to those restaurants and kind of spread people out, not just have them be so central where just the music is. Like, I liked your idea, I think I heard you say, of like having roaming, you know, some people that were roaming. And I think that's a really fantastic idea, to not make it necessarily like a one location event, but rather like a promotion of your district. So I thought that was really good. And maybe you want to, you know, really promote that it's happening throughout town, but at very specific restaurants, so that you drive people to, you know, get in the door. Or I guess they're sitting on the sidewalks, right?
Nikki, your point about your first point about your foodie stroll actually brought up a conversation Kristen and I were having earlier today about they're thinking about doing a food tour, and my gut was like, how are you going to social distance a food tour, right? And then I thought about Emily talking about the restaurant week. So you have the special, say you have the small plate and drink special, but it's spread out over the whole week and you're just promoting that and asking people to go. To me, that seems a little more safe, right? Like, so it's just kind of funny how things that were cool and worked before aren't necessarily great for now.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, like, with the stroll, this is Emily, I run food tours. And part of, I think maybe in the future, instead of the stroll, right, you could try to do a more ticketed event, a more ticketed experience of very small groups. I know some food tour operators that I network with are starting to do if everybody in the group knows each other. And so potentially you could do, sell tickets to 6 different food tours to do the same experience. But it involves so much coordination, and it's not just you, it's the restaurants and their performance, essentially their performance as well. So so I can see how maybe that stroll could be broken up into distinct food tours.
Yeah, we had that thought too, is we were going to have to make it a ticketed event so that we could really gauge the number of people and prepare the restaurants and social distance and do all that kind of stuff.
Have time slots. Maybe you could still do it all in one day. Just say you've got the 1 o'clock, you've got the 1:30, whatever.
Yeah, I like the idea of spreading it out over time too, so, over a week or however long we decide makes sense.
So Robin, you have a question, comment? You're still muted. Now you're good.
Mute free?
Yes.
So my mind is just stretched beyond the brink of normal event planning goals, because the goals have shifted so much, and I really feel like I want to hold on to what I'm learning, because I think it's all the stuff we should have been doing but weren't thinking about, because the drive was heads in beds, butts in seats, whatever, people standing on the street. And now it's really so different. So, we have the same catch-22 of like, we don't want to over advertise, because we really don't want to be the poster child for knucklehead event, so, so it just changes. How do you only target this certain number of people that you feel comfortable showing up, and then all the rules, and then the regular shopping and dining messages? So, but I wanted to speak to the Central Jersey Jazz Fest for a moment, because it's a 3-county seat event. It's Flemington, New Brunswick, and Somerville. And it used to be that we each had an event on a separate night, and we were really all pushing to drive as many people as possible to our locations. And now we're having a virtual performance in a barn, but 3 times the eyeballs from 3 different places really could add up to being a lot more exposure for any of us than just the people on the street. So, it's a big shift to try to think about how if you have 30 seconds to market your town, what do you do? We have some sizzle reels, but we don't really have a great 30-second commercial per se. And then if you get 3 big destinations worth of eyeballs, what's our messaging? It's so different than having people come and stand in your town, and to that end, I also think the opportunity for partnerships for all of us is huge. And since everything's getting canceled, we've never done this. We've never said, how do we get 100,000 people to watch us on Sunday? Like, that's not our goal. You know what I mean? we've never had that as our goal, really, to produce a TV show that talks about our location. So I think we should really think about partnerships, whether by county or region or all of New Jersey, that, you know, maybe we could get all those people to watch all of our artists, or to watch our food, or whatever it is, and communicate about the businesses. But I'd like to know your thoughts, Susan, about partnerships, and, you know, when you're so out of your league doing something new and doing it virtually, what, you know, if you've got a show, what are you supposed to do to communicate a live town?
Well, first of all, Robin, congratulations, because as much as you think that you're not handling things well, you've got so many great things going on, and I'm super excited for you. I think that, you know, everything that each one of you tries to do is, honestly, it's for the good. Even, you know, the story about the foodie stroll, you know, there was good there. As much as people may have complained at that moment, like, there's no playbook here. There is no playbook. We are all inventing the playbook, and it's okay, right? So you know what you probably need to change for next time around. And for you, Robin, you know, I think if you're, you know, if you're packaging up with partners, I mean, I absolutely love partnerships. And I think, you know, what I keep hearing, and like, it's been the old adage, you know, I think from like World War II, is like, in every crisis, there's a great opportunity. In every crisis, there's a great opportunity. Like, where's your opportunity? And you're seizing that moment because you're creating this alliance with, you know, with other places. And I think that's a business story in and of itself, an awesome one, which I would be promoting the heck out of if I were you. But I think if you're concerned about, you know, the situation like the foodie stroll, where there's going to be like oversaturation, and, you know, because they're pent up and they want to get out and they want to do stuff. And, you know, maybe you want to say, maybe you have a reservation, an email reservation situation. You know, I'm not sure how all that works. If you set up an Eventbrite, you know, some of the standard things, that the tools that you have available to you, you know, maybe it's only open to the first 200 people. I don't know what all your limitations are, but there are ways to corral some of this. And, you know, to Nikki's point about, you know, you tried something and, you know, it was a super success. So like, oh no, what do we do now? I mean, towns would be dying to have that food stroll and have what you had happen. So, you know, you got to kind of keep it all in perspective here, and don't beat yourself up too much, because again, there is no playbook here. And, you know, Robin, I'm with you when you're talking about heads and beds and butts and seats. I mean, I grew up in the hospitality industry, and I work with a lot of hotels and destinations. And I mean, it's all about that. So now it's like, oh, well, we only want 25% of that. You know what I mean? But we still want our APR and our revenues to be great. So it's like, we're trying to walk on this balance beam that's like, you know, an impossibility. But, you know, I think to get to your question about the partnerships, I just couldn't say enough good things about partnerships. Just trying to, you know, for all the downtowns here, to strike up new partnerships as much as possible. Like, I think people are, you know, in a much more entrepreneurial mind right now. You know, even people who are not entrepreneurs, like, you got to think out of your lane. You got to think out of your box and say, what else can I be doing to, you know, to try to mitigate the damage and move this thing forward. And, you know, partnerships definitely is one of those. So even, you know, even if you have never thought about partnering with a particular entity before, you know, or maybe you did, this might be the time to be able to experiment. And you know what, if it doesn't work out, oh well, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't, you know, hopefully there was really no damage done. It was just, you know, something that you tried. And take baby steps. Like, sometimes people are just like, oh, we gotta roll. Like, when I was talking to Haddonfield about their fall programming, it's like, can we just get through this one event first? Like, let's just do this and do it really, really well, and not have any hiccups or issues. And then we can plan event number 2 and 3 and so forth. So, like, don't jump ahead of yourself, because, and honestly, another part of this, which I know you all don't need reminding of, but we don't know where this thing's going to go next, right? We don't know if it's going to get better or worse. But I will say this, and Courtney and I had some conversation about this the other day. You do all need to be thinking about, you know, what does your fall look like? Even if it's not from an event perspective. You know, we were talking about like heat lamps and, you know, some of the other things that are going to allow the restaurant businesses and other businesses to continue. Like, is the town supporting that? Is that going to be viable? So, you know, looking at your fall season, looking at your winter season, and, you know, seeing what adaptations you need to make now. If we continue to be outside, which I hope we don't, but if things don't change, or God forbid they get worse, you know, what does that scenario look like? So some of this is just like scenario planning, which, you know, we do a ton of in my business. It's just like what if, but, you know, it's just good to be prepared with those different scenarios and what they may look like.
Hey, Robin, so two thoughts came to my mind while you're speaking. Thank you, Susan. So just because we are getting at an hour and a half, but two things that came to mind. I think because there's going to be such an online presence, and I think this is for you too, Pam, for this jazz festival, I think if you did have some type of 30-second sizzle reel or something that, and you got your marketing in on that, they realize that this is happening in Flemington, right? Or this is happening in New Brunswick. I think one, that's good. And then the second thing I was thinking, if you're afraid about people coming in, maybe this is a great way to partner with the other towns. So I'm just thinking like Frenchtown could have a watch party. You know, you could set up a movie screen like you would on movie night, and you advertise and market this as the main live event is in Flemington, but just know that we can only have so many people here. But Frenchtown or Lambertville or whoever is doing a watch party, and so that gets butts and seats hopefully in all of your towns. Just a thought.
That's a brilliant thought, because we are the 3 county seats,
Yeah.
but haven't, and that's why this whole thing is such a I'm trying to find a nice word, but you know, a challenge to think through. But it would, if each one of us could get our county or other places in the counties to do watch parties for the county seat jazz festival, then we really multiplied our audiences and probably found a scalable event for everybody, and that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Good idea. Thank you.
No problem. I trademarked that.
All right.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Laura again from Frenchtown. So marketing specifically. I see the future as like virtual downtown visits, because we can't really handle the people, or the people aren't going to be coming, or who knows how, you know, COVID's going to unravel itself when it gets colder. All of our downtown businesses need to be able to compete with the easy to shop Amazon. And a lot of them do have online stores now. And Robin knows that when everything started, I just started cranking out web stores for all of our brick and mortars. But they have no clue about marketing this, you know, their online presence, or like positioning themselves. And I feel like that's people won't get to experience our downtowns, but they will support our businesses, which will ensure that we have downtowns that are there when people can come back to it. So I'm really curious about that, like the virtual sort of downtown, and I don't know, teaching these businesses how to market that.
One thought I have on that is for Bloomfield Center Restaurant Week, we wanted people to engage in a lot of different ways, and so that people wouldn't just have to come and sit outside, because again, I'm not comfortable with that. I know a lot of people aren't. So we wanted people to be able to do takeout, and we wanted them to be able to do it easily. So we asked the restaurants, like, how do you like people to order food from you? Because I know we hear a lot about how restaurants don't want to use, they lose money when they use Uber Eats or they use DoorDash. But a lot of the restaurants, and again, this isn't for retail, but a lot of the restaurants actually liked those platforms and told me, we do such good business on Uber Eats, please promote our Uber Eats page. And so when we listed all the participating restaurants in the week, we put, you can find this restaurant on DoorDash, link directly to DoorDash. You can find it on Uber Eats, link directly to Uber Eats. Like, I think we were kind of surprised at how enthusiastic some of the restaurants were about the platforms that they're performing well on. And some of them that, you know, just a little hole in the wall, thousands of reviews on, you know, Grubhub or something, surprisingly. So I think we have to kind of promote those ways, but yeah, to your point, I think it's so huge. And, you know, I know some independent bookstores are getting together to help bookstores, and any efforts that we can do are going to be important.
And Susan, I know you're working on the campaign through New Jersey. I don't know if you have anything to add about kind of digitizing stores and stuff.
Yeah, let me say a few things, Laura. Laura and I have been kind of communicating privately since she spoke last. So I want to say one of the things that we do in Haddonfield, and we do with some of our other clients, is we have ongoing seminars. It's not that different from what we're doing right now. But that might be something, if you're not already doing, that you could be doing with your downtown business owners. So it sounds like you already helped them with some of the shopping carts and whatnot. But, you know, just doing ongoing seminars about marketing or about whatever topics, you know, that are pertinent. I think it's a great networking opportunity. Everybody gets to see each other's face. It shows that you're active. Like, there's just so many positives to it. And I think that might be something that you can lend some expertise, or you can bring other people in that could be doing those seminars. I do want to pivot over to that. We were selected, my company was selected along with a couple of other companies through the New Jersey EDA, and I have the information right here, so I just want to get it. The New Jersey EDA put together just recently a technical assistance services initiative together. So essentially what they're doing for certain retailers. Now, right now, this is a pilot program, so it's not open to everyone. But I can put the email in the chat to get more information. But essentially what's happening is the EDA will fund certain projects that are e-commerce related, somewhat similar, Laura, to the shopping carts that you were just explaining. You have to do it like an intake form through NJEDA, and then they divvy out what they call the leads to, there are 3 different agencies across the state of New Jersey. My agency is only handling South Jersey. There are actually 2 other agencies that are handling both Central and North Jersey, but don't get all bogged down with that. You just really need to get in touch with NJEDA. Christina Fuentes is the contact. And again, I can put the email, which is e-commerce@njeda.com. e-commerce@njeda.com if you want to get more information. But essentially once the company fills the intake form and they qualify, and initially what they're catering to for this initiative are restaurants, retail stores, and personal care businesses. And they have to be registered with the state of New Jersey, of course, and they have to have a physical storefront. So it's only, you know, it's a little bit limited. It's not going to be open to this isn't open to everyone, but you've got to fill out the form, have the business fill out the form. And then if they qualify, then the leads are going to the different agencies, and then the agencies, they're just giving us like the names of the contacts and the businesses. And then we're reaching out and saying, hey, if you need some help with your website or e-commerce, you know, potentially we can do some work for you for free. Because the state is paying for it. But so there's a lot of qualifiers to it. Sorry to bog it down with all of that, but it is out there. And again, I will put the email if Courtney already hasn't done, because she's been doing that so graciously all along, you know, in the chat, so you guys can take a look at that. But Laura, I feel like you're in Frenchtown. I feel like you guys have there's so many great things going on there. And I think like it's just a matter of like getting everybody on board, it sounds like, to, again, seize this moment and, fully take advantage of it. The other thing that you brought up before that I wanted to circle back around with real quick, I'm going to imagine that a lot of the people that are coming to your town are from out of town, right? So they may be from North Jersey. They're probably from New York City, right? Because New York City is going through, and this is a whole other topic in and of itself. What has happened in New York is just, it makes me want to cry. But it also is just such an unbelievable exodus that has gone on. So like I have a builder who's a client, okay, that's building like $500,000 homes. They're not like super luxury, but they're pretty nice. We're in a pandemic, right? He has since sold out, right? This is in Cape May County. And I mean, the building industry, remodeling, all that, they're killing it. But who are these people that are buying these homes? They're New Yorkers, right? They're all exiting and they're looking for other places and other options to live and other places to go, like Frenchtown, right? So it's a matter of like looking at this influx now of people that you may have not experienced before and tapping into it. So do you put that person out, by the place where these people are entering the river or whatever to inform them about your town and what you have to offer? I mean, you have to, again, you got to look at the dynamics that are involved that are going on in your particular town and pivot and, seize the moment. And it sounds like lucky you, there are people coming into town. So yeah, you have somebody that you can try to appeal to get to your downtown. And
so I did put some stuff, thank you, Susan, and I did, unfortunately, it doesn't like, it lumps, there's like three links all in, looks like it's one big long link, but there are 3 links there. Summit and Downtown Metuchen both have kind of business directories, and then they link to the people's websites or whatever. Some of the towns, and I just can't find it, are using Beyond Maine as their virtual storefront, and I can't find any of the individual virtual storefronts, but I have seen them in the place. And so basically, I know Westfield, I think, was working on that. They worked with Beyond Maine, and I don't know if you got a discount or something for your stores who joined, and that's basically an online thing. And then the thing in the middle is the EDA, e-commerce technical assistance program info, and a way to contact that. So, all right. So I think with that, because this is the longest we've ever gone. Congratulations. Great conversation. Again, thank you, Susan. And I'm just going to share my screen real quick, only because then that's the last thing that shows up on the video. But otherwise, you all are welcome to leave. And thank you very much. And this will be posted. The video will be posted. The PowerPoint will be posted later. And then we normally get the summary up in about a week after the thing. So thank you all for participating. We appreciate your support and your interest.
Thank you, Courtney. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Take care. Have a good day.